Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome to my 2019 playoff simulation. So, if you guys were at the channel a couple years ago, I did one of these in 2017, but I didn't do one in 2018. So I'm gonna do one for this year. I know a lot of NHL YouTubers do this, but like I wanted to see what my sim would do. So, anyways, let's get into this. First, though, I want to go through each series and give my predictions and my thoughts on who could win. So starting off with the Nashville Predators and the Dallas Stars here in the Western Conference, I think like Dallas had a pretty good season for the most part because Ben Bishop was really good, but Nashville still has that like contender type of status. So and they did actually acquire quite a good few good pieces at the deadline, like Granlund. So I think Nashville would take this series probably in like 6 games, maybe 7 games, because it depends if Ben Bishop can continue what he did during the regular season into the postseason. Next up, we got the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues. So this series one is kind of interesting as well because I think even though the St. Louis Blues had a very good like second half of the season, I don't think they're that much of a compete level in comparison to the Jets. Like the Jets have been to like the conference finals recently, I think. Yeah, I think they were to the conference finals last year, and yeah, the Jets have just been doing really good the last few seasons, and then they're obviously a cup favorite going into this year. So I'm gonna say the Winnipeg Jets will take this series in probably 6 games. Because I could see the Blues at least winning one on home ice, maybe stealing one on the road if necessary. So yeah, I say Winnipeg would move on to the second round. Next up, we got the Calgary Flames and the Colorado Avalanche. This is another interesting series. So Calgary had a very good regular season. However, they don't really have the greatest goaltending. Like David Riddick is pretty solid, but Mike Smith is kind of trailing off a bit. So I guess it really depends on if Calgary's goaltending could do what it did or do better than it did in the regular season. Like I know Calgary finished first in the West, but if Calgary could play better, like really good defensive hockey, and continue what they did with their offense, they definitely could make it past this round. So as of for Colorado, they obviously had their top line going early in the season, but I don't think they really have a chance against Calgary just because Calgary, like, when their top line gets going, they could score a whole lot of goals. Like, I think there was a part of the season where they were scoring like 5 or 6 goals each game for like 3 straight games. And yeah, they're a very scary team. So I'm going to say the Calgary Flames take this series in probably also 6 games because I could see Colorado at least getting a win. Okay, next up we got the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. The two of these two teams played last year. So I think time is definitely running out for San Jose, and it's a matter of if they stay healthy because they did have some bigger injuries as of recently. Like Carlson was out for quite a bit. I think players like Logan Couture were as well. I haven't really been following the Sharks, but yeah, the Sharks just need to stay healthy, and Martin Jones needs to be on his game. But Vegas though definitely makes a big a big push this year because they did acquire Mark Stone at the deadline, and then also they also like have Max Pacioretty who they didn't have last year. So I think I think though San Jose is kind of running out of time, and I feel like Vegas could still upset them, but I'm not 100% sure with that. So I'm gonna still go San Jose in this. So San Jose in probably 7 games because I could see the Vegas Golden Knights giving like a lot of chances, and they're really good on their home ice too, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to San Jose in 7 games. Now moving on to the Eastern Conference, we got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Obviously, being the Blue Jackets fan I really want the Blue Jackets to win. However, I know Tampa Bay just came off one of the best seasons in NHL history, so I gotta give them props for that. Um, However, I am still gonna go Tampa Bay, but like I do think this series could go like longer than people expect because I'm seeing all these comments, on like Twitter and stuff like that saying Columbus is gonna get swept or Columbus is gonna get ousted in 5 games. And yeah, I could see this still going a lot longer just because Columbus has like the deepest team they've had in years, and then obviously they made some really bold transactions, acquiring like Matt Duchene, Ryan Dzingel, then also picking up like Keith Kincaid for goaltending depth. Like we have a lot more players than we have ever had before. Like there's players that haven't played in quite a few months, like Marcus Hannikainen on depth. So I'm gonna say Tampa Bay still wins this series, but in 7 games, because I could see Columbus giving it a push this year. As for the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs, this is another rematch of last season and in 2013. Toronto's kind of struggled as of lately, like going into the playoffs, because like they just came off a loss against Montreal where they let in like 5 goals in regulation. So I'm not really too keen on Toronto because their defense is kind of a bit iffy. However, Frederick Anderson could definitely make up for that. But the Boston Bruins, they have their offensive threats. If good veterans, good young guys like Pasternak, and they obviously have a better defensive core than the Leafs. So I'm giving this to the Boston Bruins in, I'd say, like 6 or 7 games as well, just because I feel like Toronto should be able to win a couple with the acquisition of Tavares this year and whatnot. So I'm going to give it to Boston in 7. Next, we move on to the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes. This is an interesting series because Carolina, like, nobody really expected them to make the playoffs. Like, they've been trying really hard to get to the playoffs for the last few seasons. Like, they haven't been there in 10 years, so I'm very happy to see them in the playoffs. However, I do think Washington still has a lot of offensive weapons, really good defensemen for the most part, like maybe 2 good defensemen, because they're kind of like a lot of Caps fans kind of overrate their defensive core because they think like players like Nick Jensen are legitimate top 2 defensemen on their team, which he's not really. He's more of like a top 4 at best. So I still think Washington takes this series though, but like probably 5 or 6 games, because I could see Carolina at least winning one for their fans, because like it's been like since 2008-09 since they last made the playoffs. So I'm gonna give this to Washington in 5 games. And next we move on to the Islanders and the Penguins. This is another interesting series. The Islanders having home ice over the Penguins. Obviously, I really hate the Penguins, being a Blue Jackets and a Sens fan, just because I've seen my fair share of the Penguins over the last like 10 years or so. Um, but I do think the Islanders could pull off an upset here and defeat Pittsburgh, but it's going to take definitely 7 games probably for them to do so. So if the Islanders win this, it's going to go to 7 games because I could see Pittsburgh putting on a push. However, I feel like the Penguins are going to be like the 2000 and what was it, 2014 or 2015? I think it was the 2015 Chicago Blackhawks that were ousted in the first round. I could see the Islanders pulling off an upset like that. So I'm going to say the Islanders in 7 games. However, I would not be surprised if the Penguins somehow managed to pull through and face the Caps in the second round. So anyways, that is my predictions for these playoff matchups. Now let's get into our simulation and see who comes out as the Stanley Cup champion according to EA. So I know a lot of other YouTubers are doing this right now, but like I find it's kind of interesting to do each like your own simulation, because like a lot of them are different. Like I actually made this video like a couple days ago, or a day ago, and it turns out that my Elgato was glitching out, so I did not actually get the footage, and then my computer was messed up. But for some reason it actually had Columbus winning the Stanley Cup. Like it was pretty cool. So yeah, I think Columbus somehow beat Tampa Bay in like 5 games or something, which I don't see that happening in real life, but you never really know what could happen in the playoffs. Because I hope Columbus is kind of like the 2006 Edmonton Oilers to an extent, like where they defeat like the best team in the first round. Because Edmonton beat like a 58 win team in Detroit back in '06, or if they're going to be end up like the LA Kings in 2012, where LA was the 8th seed and they end up winning the Stanley Cup that year. So like anything's possible in the playoffs. So if you're doubting Columbus, don't worry, they have a chance. Like if you're a Blue Jackets fan like I am, we still have a chance. It just depends on if we could get some wins early and don't do what we did last year where we gave up a 2-0 series lead. So we are getting close to the end of some of these series already. A lot of them are 3-1 series leads. Some 3-0 ones. Who will be the first to advance? So also, let me know what you guys think down below. Who do you guys think is going to win each series? Like, do you feel like the Islanders could upset the Penguins this year in the first round? Or who do you think is going to, like, pull off the biggest upset? Who's going to win the Stanley Cup? Or who do you want to win the Stanley Cup? It depends on, what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say is, if you want who wants to win the Stanley Cup, who you want to win the Stanley Cup, and who do you think is going to win the Stanley Cup, those are two different questions. So I know you obviously wanted your favorite team probably to win the Stanley Cup, but who do you think would actually win it, like, if you weren't being biased? So San Jose beats Vegas in 5 games, so that's pretty interesting, and Tampa Bay takes out Columbus in 5 games. So Tampa Bay continuing on that roll. Anybody else done it? Nope. Those are the only 2 series done so far. And Calgary has ousted the Colorado Avalanche in 6 games, so that's pretty realistic. I could see that happening. And Washington takes out Carolina in 6, so Carolina might actually happen. Carolina could technically win 2 games. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 2. Winnipeg takes out St. Louis in 6 games. Toronto upsets the Bruins in 6. Damn, that's a bit controversial. I know a lot of the simulations have probably Toronto winning, but still, I don't think Toronto has the defense to get a win. Pittsburgh defeats the Islanders in 6 games, and Nashville defeats Dallas in 7. So we have our second round matchups: Nashville and Winnipeg, Calgary and San Jose, Tampa Bay and Toronto, and Washington and Pittsburgh yet again. Okay, this is going to be interesting, so let's see what happens here in the second round of the playoffs. Who is going to advance to the conference finals? I hope we get a new team that wins the Stanley Cup this year, because it's kind of boring when you have the same team win the Stanley Cup a lot. When Chicago was on their dynasty, I didn't really like that, and same with Pittsburgh. It's kind of like what happens in the NBA, I guess, and all that sort of stuff, where the best team always wins and stuff like that. And I find it's more interesting when a new team wins. Unless it's my favorite team, I'd be fine with my favorite team winning a lot of cups, but seeing other teams do it, it's not that intriguing to me. Okay, so we have 1-3-0 series already. So Nashville looking for the sweep on the Jets, and they're not going to do so. The other series are all pretty tight right now. Tampa Bay's up 3-1 on Toronto, and Pittsburgh's up 3-1 on Washington. Damn. And there you go. Nashville has advanced to the conference finals, so the Jets ousted in the second round. I don't know if that would happen, because I think at the beginning of the season, I predicted the Jets and the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Cup Finals. I still think that could happen, but I'm not 100% sure with that. It depends on a lot of stuff. Okay, so we have a lot of 3-2 series right now. Will the Flames advance to the conference finals? Yes, they will. They take out the Sharks in 6 games, so I guess their goaltending is actually doing pretty good. So Calgary and Nashville, one of those 2 teams, will be off to the Stanley Cup Finals, and Tampa Bay takes out Toronto in 6 games. And Game 7 for Pittsburgh and Washington. Damn, that's going to be interesting. And Pittsburgh takes it this time. So Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Calgary and Nashville in the Western Conference. So we might get a rematch of 2004 again. So that might be kind of interesting. A lot of people actually think that might happen, a rematch of 2004. But it depends on, I guess, for the Flames, like I said at the beginning, if their goaltending could play really good. Because their goaltending combination is not the greatest. Rittich is pretty good, actually, for being, I think, in his first or second season. So, but Vasilevsky, though, that goalie's insane. And Calgary sweeps Nashville to advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. Damn. If that actually happens, I'll be pretty happy, because I would like to see the Flames win the Stanley Cup this year. just because I'm like an Oliver Shillington fan, so I would like to see that. And Tampa Bay has taken a 3-2 series lead on Pittsburgh. Will they advance to the Cup Finals? No, they won't, and it's Game 7 of the Conference Finals, Tampa and Pittsburgh. Who will advance? It's going to be Tampa Bay in 7 games, so we do have a rematch of 2004. Hopefully this time there's no controversial goal calls and whatnot. So we're going to quick sim until there's a chance for a team to win the Stanley Cup. And then we're going to intervene and you guys can watch the team win the Stanley Cup. So game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and Tampa Bay takes it on home ice, not a surprise. Game number 2, Tampa Bay takes it. Not good. Not good for Flames fans. Now we're back in Calgary, game number 3, and Calgary takes it. Okay, so both teams making use of their home ice. Game number 4, this is a big game for the Flames, and they're going to lose. So Tampa Bay has a chance to eliminate the Flames and win the Stanley Cup. Will they do so? We're going to intervene probably if they do have a chance soon. First period, and 1-0 for Tampa Bay. Andre Palat, the former 7th round pick, beats David Riddick. Second period, and 3-0 Tampa Bay. Stamkos with 2, and it looks like it's all but over. Looks like Tampa Bay is going to actually end up going on to win the Stanley Cup, which it wouldn't surprise me if they do so. But like a lot of the times, the greatest team like that wins a lot of games during regular season, they kind of slow down during the playoffs. So who knows? There could be still an upset, but this definitely could happen. And we're going to intervene right now, and I'm going to let you guys watch the Stanley Cup celebration, even though you guys probably all have seen it already. But yeah, there you go. And I'll see you guys in a second.
If you're just with us, it's been a tremendous bit of hockey so far, and more to come. Calgary's collected another victory on the faceoff. And that one went offside. Over 4 minutes left to go in the third. A 3-goal edge. On the big board, it says 4-1. Tampa Bay's got that neutral zone faceoff. Passing one off now to Palat. Cut that off between the blue lines. To Stamkos. Gives it over to the point. That puck's loose. He couldn't get through the roadblock. Propelled to Sergachev. Save. Picked up by the defense. Couldn't get through there. Looking to Monahan. It's an onside play. Gathered up again by Miller. Directing that one to Lindholm. Pass cut. Strong play. We are in the 60th minute out of 60. On through the corner. Puck ricocheted off the screen. Intercepts that pass.
Tampa Bay's in complete control of this game because of their ability to force turnovers.
Decides he wants the corner. And at an angle to point. Cut that pass in his own end. Takes it in from the neutral zone. In the slot. Terrific save. Terrific opportunity.
Now that's a solid save.
Tampa Bay's setting up an offense from the wing. From childhood, the daydream of getting to hold 35 pounds of history, and it's about to come true. They will win the biggest prize. And the game is over. The series is over. Tampa Bay's won the Stanley Cup. Do you believe the celebration going on? They both paid the price to get this far. It winds up being a short summer for both. But the short summer for the loser does not include having the Stanley Cup at your home. That's disappointing.
This has long been a tradition, of course, in hockey where sportsmanship replaces the competition that has just been completed. You shake hands, and I'll tell you from experience, it's better to be on the winning side of that handshake than on the losing side.
The man chosen playoff MVP gets the Conn Smythe Trophy. Boy, is this ever well deserved.
This is a tremendous award that probably means more in the coming days than it does now. You don't dream of winning the Conn Smythe. You dream of the Stanley Cup.
It's often said it's the hardest prize to win because it takes 8 weeks. And by tradition, the captain is the first to hold it high.
I remember as a kid watching Johnny Busick, the captain of the Boston Bruins, hold the Stanley Cup above his head. I thought it would be the coolest thing to do. Look how proud and happy the captain is here tonight. There's so much going on the ice right now. I wonder if the players are able to soak it all in, or if it goes by so fast that the time that they really understand is when they look at it on video later on. This is outstanding to see how happy these players are.
In what would be his last Stanley Cup victory, Wayne Gretzky gathered everyone at center ice for a team picture, and that has now become a custom.
So there you guys have it. The Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and Vasilevsky took home the Conn Smythe. Stamkos had 3 points in that final game. Same with Palat, and JT Miller with 2 assists are the 3 stars. So let's take a look at the player stats for the entire playoffs, and then that'll be it for this video. Like I said, let me know all your thoughts down below as well, though, about who you think will win the Stanley Cup. Do you guys think Tampa Bay can continue what they did during the regular season? All that sort of stuff. I'm interested in your opinions. So yeah, Tampa Bay's offense was just killer. Stamkos and Point both had 21 points. Kucherov had 17 more points in the playoffs. And then surprisingly, Pittsburgh had the next best player. So I guess, yeah, it looks like the Flames' offense wasn't the greatest. Like Monahan had 17 points and Gaudreau had 15, but their offense was not really their strong suit in the playoffs. So I think that's probably why they lost in the finals. Okay, so on to the goaltenders. So Andrei Vasilevsky absolutely killed it. No wonder he won the Conn Smythe. .934 save percentage and a 1.86 goals against average. David Riddick, on the other hand, was pretty good as well, but like as you can see, that goals against is a bit high. So yeah, that might be a problem like for the Flames in the playoffs, is their goaltending situation, like I was saying before. So if their goalies could play really good, they could go far. But if they don't, then they might be like a second round exit. Matt Murray as well was up there. Pecorine. Okay. So anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys like this playoff simulation. If you want to see another one of these next year in the playoffs and stuff like that, let me know. I might actually do like a Stanley Cup Finals simulation as well during this year as well once we get to that, so in June. So anyways, let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.